Good morning, all. Today we have a brief discussion about blockchain. So, blockchain nowadays, in terms of every organization or in terms of education-based platform, is important. The important thing is we are using blockchain. Without blockchain, almost it's not at all possible to proceed any type of innovative things. So a blockchain is nothing but is a continuously growing list of records called blocks. So each and every record is said to be block here, which are linked and secured using cryptography. So that is a simple introduction about blockchain. So the concept is introduced by Satoshi Nakamoto in 2009. So a blockchain, in addition, a blockchain is said to be a distributed database of records of all the transaction. Each transaction is verified by the majority of the participants of the system. So, a blockchain, for example, we have a number of persons will be there. So each and every person will check it out the transaction verified by the participants of the system. For almost all the participants can verify the transaction just in view mode, just they are going to verify. It contains every single record of each transaction. Bitcoin is most popular cryptocurrency, is an example for your blockchain. So just look at the diagram. It's a simple diagramic representation. For example, we have a data, and every data, every block, we have a hash value. So previous hash value and the current hash value. So the data will be carried out for each and every block, or it is said to be a record. Each and every block have a data, and every data contains hash value. So it will have some two types of hash value: previous hash value and the block hash value. So as a simple example, how the blockchain will be represented. That is in terms of how the n number of blocks will be represented in a chain mode. And we discuss about blockchain decentralization. So what is my decentralization? So in this blockchain, we are not having any servers. There is no central server or system which keeps the data of the entire data of the blockchain. So the data is distributed over millions of computers around the world, which are connected to the blockchain. So which are connected to the n number of blocks. In a similar fashion, is said to be connected to the blockchain. The system will also notarization of data is present every node, and it's verified by public verification in the sense. So those who are all the participants available, those who are all the members in the blockchain. So everyone can verify the data. Everyone can just view the data and verify the data. Okay, so this is said to be a term called blockchain decentralization, and followed by as a simple diagrammatic representation. In this, we are going to elaborate what is decentralized and what is centralized, as well as what is distributed. So first of all, we need to know the difference between the terms that will be decentralization, centralization, and distributed. As I said before, the blockchain is said to be a decentralized one. Okay, so not a centralized. If it is a centralized, we have a common server will be there, and from there, a number of nodes can distribute the data. And if it is a distributed one, every node will have a connection with every node. So here, blockchain technology is purely based on a decentralized term. So there is a representation. What is the difference between the decentralization and what is said to be centralized, as well as the distributed one? And how the blockchain is working. For example, you just look at the uh, picture. For example, we have six terms will be there. For example, a person called A and person called B. So both the person A wants to send money to B. So that is the criteria. So in this, anyhow, we need to start our transaction. So the point number two, the transaction is represented in online as a block. Okay, that is said to be a record. Okay, for every block. So a person want to send transaction to an alternate person. Say for example, a person called A, and then you want to send money to person called B. The transaction is represented is online through blocks. Okay, every transaction will be represented as a block based, and the block is broadcast to every party in the network. As I said before, so the transaction will be verified and transaction will be viewed by all the members, all the participants available in the community. Okay, so the blockchain is broadcast to every party in the network and followed by, for example, those in the network has to approve the transaction also. So as I said before, every person in the network, every member in the network can verify as well as can view the transaction also. Apart from they need to approve the transaction also. And then uh, after that, after verification, the current block will be added to the existing block. That is the block then can be added to the chain. Already we have a chain of blocks will be there. Then can be added to the chain, which provides an indelible and transparent record for of transaction. Say, for example, first of all, a person want to send one to one a transaction, and it should be distributed through a block wise, and every transaction is a block here. So after sending the transaction, the block is broadcast to every party in the network. It is to be broadcasting to every party in the network. So and then the network can approve the transaction. Transaction is valid one, and the block will be added to the chain, which provides an indelible and transparent record of transactions. And after that, after combining all the transactions together with all the blocks, the money moves from A to B. So that is the concept. So very simple. Everyone can view, everyone can approve, and everyone can check the transaction. Whoever may be the transaction will get it from one to one. So after that, the block then added to the chain, which provides an indelible and transparent record of all the transaction, and then the money can move to A to B after the verification by all the participants present. Okay, and followed by just look at the as I said just now I described how the transaction will be. Just you look at the diagram how a transaction get into the blockchain. So how it is to be. For example, a transaction is requested and authenticated, and then a block representing the transaction is created. After that, the block is sent to every node, and then the nodes validate the transaction. Okay, so node in the sense here we are going to consider maybe a participant or member in the blockchain, one of the person. Okay, in the chain. Okay, in the network, and nodes receive a reward of proof of work. So the concept is after that, after completing the process, we are going to receive the proof of work as a reward. Typically in the cryptocurrency, the reward may be. The block is added to the existing blockchain, and then the block is added to the existing blockchain. Already we have a chain of blocks will be there, no? That one. The update is distributed across the network. So after adding the blocks in the existing network, the update is distributed across the network, and finally the transaction is complete. So just look at the picture. Is very clear information how the transaction will be requesting and authenticating, and how it is to be represented as a block, and how it is to be added in the network of blocks, and then how the nodes can receive a reward after completing the transaction, and followed by it is to be added to the existing block. as well as the updated will be in the distributed across the network. The transaction is completed finally. And followed by what are the features of blockchain. So features, say for example, is an encryption. One of the feature is an immutability. It's not possible to update by anyone, okay, anyone of the member in the network. And tokenization, we are going to give the proof of work, that is the, we are going to give the reward one, that is also one type of feature. And decentralization, as I said before, it's not a centralized one, it's a decentralized one, and it's said to be a distributed one. So these are all some major features of a blockchain. And benefits. So based on the process what we discussed, so we need to have some benefits of the blockchain. It's a trustless process, an unstoppable one, an immutable one, and decentralized one. And then is a cost of the process will be very low, and is said to be a peer-to-peer network, and it is very much transparent. Yeah, of course, as I said before, every person, every participant must verify, and they are going to approve, and it is transparent to everyone, okay. And it's not the hidden based one. And universal banking, it is said to be a type of universal banking. And these are all some of the benefits we have for your blockchain. And followed by what are all the key characteristics. So based on the features, based on the benefits, we go for key characteristics. It is an open one, that is open in the sense open forum, anyone can access the blockchain. Anyone who are maybe the participant or member available, anyone can access the blockchain. And also, as I said before, it's a distributed and decentralized one, not under the control of any single authority. Everyone may be the authorized person who are all the members available in the network. And it is too efficient. For example, it should be very fast and scalable. So it is said to be too efficient and verifiable one. Yeah, as of course, as I said, it is verified and by anyone who are all the persons available in it should be verifiable by everyone, and they are going to make a approval. And permanent. Once a transaction is done, it is to be presented and can't be altered by anyone, any one of the participant in the network. It is a permanent one. Once a transaction is done, okay, it's not a temporary basis. It is a very permanent one. And nodes. So as I said, n number of nodes in the decentralized, the diagram also, that representation also, as I said, what is decentralized, what is decentralized, and how the nodes will be connecting together. So in this nodes, first of all, node in the sense here, if we are going to consider as a network, every person, every participant may be a person, may be one of the, that is a node. And simply we are going to say a node is said to be a computer connected to the blockchain in the network. So how many computers will be connected, how many participants in the sense participants are not directly going to connect. Anyhow, every participant have one node. So every participant having one computer, whatever it may be the resources. So a node in a computer connected to the blockchain network, and node gets connected with the blockchain using the client. So every client is said to be a node here. When a computer connects to the blockchain, a copy of the blockchain data gets downloaded into the system of the node, comes into synchronous with the latest block of data available in the blockchain. So just understand the terms. Already on existing blockchain will be there. In that a new record, we are going to have some new transaction. That block will be added with the existing chain, that is the blockchain. And every term, it is a copy of the blockchain of data gets downloaded into the system, and the node come into synchronize with the latest block of data. And the node connected to the blockchain, which helps in execution of transaction in return for an incentive, it is said to be miners. So every node connected to the blockchain help in execution of transaction. As I said before, for every transaction, we are going to get the reward. So reward in terms of incentive or reward, whatever it is. So after completing the transaction, so the node connected in the blockchain, which helps in the execution of transaction in return for an incentive called minus, or it is to be validate. So just look at the diagram. The nodes are connected together. It's a decentralized one. Every node will be said to be a person or a computer in the, or a client in the network. Okay, so after validating, after approval by every node, they're going to get the reward as an incentive. It is said to be a term called miners. And what are all the benefits of blockchain? So, important thing, what are the benefits? Comparatively, it's a time-saving process. It is a cost-saving process, and it is a collaboration. Collaboration in the sense, every party interact directly with one another while not requiring the third-party negotiation. So, here security will be very much important thing. Is security will be more here. So the thing is, the third-party negotiation is there. The third party, at any cost, the third party is not going to involve or not going to access anything. So that is an important thing. That is said to be a type of security also. So collaboration, every party can interact directly with every other party in the network. So we don't have any party as a third party negotiation. And reliability, as I said before, it is too much reliable. No any hidden layers will be there. So it's too reliable. That the thing is, every party, every person in the network can verify, and this moves the double records as well as the reducing the rates and accelerating the transactions. So up to now, we discussed what is meant by blockchain, what are the features of blockchain, how the transaction will be in the blockchain, and what are all the procedure for having the transaction from one person to one alternate person. And then if it is a decentralized based network, and what are the benefits and what are all the characteristics available, and how the blockchain of blocks will be with the blocks, existing block of chains. So we have set an introduction as up to now, and followed by we have a term is said to be blockchain, how it is said to be a public ledger process. For example, everyone know about the ledger. In previous days, before 10 years or 15 years, once we go for a banking, in the banking sector, they are going to maintain on ledger. So in that ledger, they are going to enter the details of the customer and ID number of the customer, and how much payment they are going to have, how much payment they are going to have a transaction, everything will be recorded in a ledger. So, how the blockchain will be acting as a public ledger in the sense, for example, as I said before, a node or a client or user, which is a part of the public chain, that is a blockchain, is authorized to access the current and past records. So, verify transaction or do proof of work for an incoming block and do the mining process. That reward will be a type of cryptocurrency. So blockchain is shared and immutable ledger that facilitates the process of recording the transaction and tracking the assets in a business network. And asset in the sense, for example, maybe a house, maybe a car, maybe a cash, or maybe one property that is said to be a land, or intangible, for example, intellectual property or patents, copyrights, branding. Okay, so the thing is, whatever may be the assets of a person, it is to be recorded permanently with the help of the blockchain. The security will be more, and assets can be a tangible or intangible, depends upon the type of asset. And the blockchain will acting as a public ledger. It's said to be a public ledger. Okay, so public in the sense, as I said before, every transaction will be viewed and every transaction will be approved by the client present in the network. And just look at the example. For example, one small presentation, how it is to be. For example, you consider four nodes will be there, or four clients will be there. Every node is said to be a client here in the network. So for every node, we have a separate ledger, right? And every person, every client having a ledger will be maintained in the blockchain network. So in that ledger, every input will be recorded, every data, every transaction will be recorded, and then after that the process will be wind up, and every record will be permanent record. It's not a temporary, just like after completing the process we are not going to delete the record. None of the person in the network, it's not possible to make it modify, delete, whatever it is, it's not at all possible up to the end, up to the maybe 100 years or 200 years, whatever it may be, the information up to the end is not at all possible to alter, modify, or delete by any one of the participants present in the network. So this is said to be how the blockchain will be acting as a public ledger, or it is said to be a distributed ledger, and followed by block in blockchain. For example, as I said before, every record is said to be a block, is it? So every record is said to be block, and that block will be added with the existing block, and this is said to be the chain of blocks. The existing chain of blocks, we are going to add the current block. So, what is it to be block in a blockchain? In the sense, blocks are files stored by a blockchain where transaction data are permanently recorded. Once the data are validated, the block is closed. So, the transaction will start and transaction will be approved and transaction will be completed and validated. After that, the block will be closed and a new block will be created for new transaction to be entered into and then validated. The process will be repeated up to a number of blocks. So the thing is, every data, every transaction will be recorded and it is said to be a record or it is said to be a block. A block will be added with the existing block after complete how the transaction will be, how the block will be closed in the sense once the transaction will be end up or wind up after the approval, we go for the transaction after validated, the block will be added with the existing block. So it is said to be a block in blockchain and followed by the blocks. As I said before, we have a number of cumulative blocks. So every block having we have a numbered sequential, that is nothing but index will be created from zero, and you can expect to see millions and billions of blocks on any widely used blockchain. And each block has a block hash which uniquely identifies a block, and then the particular hash is unique. Say for example, the fingerprint that is generated cryptographically to identify a block. So anyhow, we have a number of blocks. After creating the block, after completing and validating the transaction, the block will be added to the existing block. Every block having an index or number starting from zero, and you can expect to see millions and billions of blocks will be there having the index value, and every block having a uniquely identified by a block by using some security measures and security. The hashes may be uniquely, for example, fingerprint that is generated cryptographically by identify a block. And the chain and the longest chain in the blockchain. As I said before, we have a block and we have a block of chain. Chain that is the cumulative of blocks is said to be here chain of blocks or block of chains. The chain and the longest chain in the blockchain in the sense the longest chain is what Bitcoin nodes accept as a validate version of the blockchain. So, blockchain technology is a structure that stores the transactional records, also known as a block of the public in several databases known as the chain, in a network connected to peer-to-peer nodes. So, that is an important thing. So, a network will be connected to the peer-to-peer. So, not at all simply we are going to say that a particular term or particular block will be separately connected together. So, it is said to be through peer-to-peer nodes, we have a network will be created. And the chain in the longest chain in the blockchain, simple diagramic representation, how the nodes adapt the longest available chain and how the shorter chain will be. So shorter chain in the sense the nodes will be somehow less number of nodes, and if it is the nodes will be the longest available chain, you have more number of nodes. Maybe that is the major difference between the longest and the smallest chain. And permissionized blockchain model. So up to now we discussed what is blockchain, how the transaction will be in the blockchain, and what is by decentralization, and what are all the key features of the blockchain, and followed by how the blockchain will be acting as a public ledger, and what is meant by block, as well as what is meant by blockchain, and how it is to be a chain of blocks together, and a chain that is the longest chain. And next thing is permissionized blockchain model. That's one of the important model. A permissionized blockchain is a type of blockchain where only approved participants are allowed to join and perform specific actions on the network. So note down the point as an important thing. Only the approved person. Who are all the approved person? The person who may be who may be available in the network. So it is said to be an approved person, or that is an approved client. So The thing is, only the approved person are allowed to join and perform specific actions on the network. So, what are all the key characteristics available in the permissionized blockchain? So, permissionized in the sense already the person may approved person. He is not an unauthorized person. Is not a he or she is not a that is a third party. So restricted access. So restricted access, user may be authorized to join the network, read the data, write and submit the transaction, and validate the block. So these are all the key role played by the client. Okay, so in the key characteristics, the permission is a blockchain model, restricted access. So only the person, only the people, only the client who may be the authorized personality, authorized person can join in the network and read the data as well as write the data, so as well as submit the transaction, as well as write the submit write transaction and validate the blocks. So in the permissionized model, blockchain model, the next key characters is said to be known participants. Anyhow, in the public blockchain, only the known participants will be the possibilities to having the verification and validation, everything. So it's also one of the key characteristics. Uncontrolled governance is said to be governing the organization or consortium, and decisions like software upgrade and policy changes are centrally coordinated, and higher privacy, data visibility can be restricted, and some transaction may be visible only to the specific parties, not for all the person available, only for the specific party. That is said to be a term called one of the highest privacy. And then, what is my cryptographic hash function? So cryptography hash function, everyone know that what is meant by hash function. Why the thing we go for hashing process? Hashing process mainly based upon your security based term, and in this cryptographic hash function, we are using on everyone know that there are some type of encryption process, maybe two types of encryption. One is private key encryption as well as public key encryption. Private key is said to be symmetric and public key is said to be non-symmetric. If it is a private key, everyone can, that is an organization or particularly clients may have the access. If it is a public, everyone can make it access. So that is the basic difference between. And in this private key encryption is the encryption method that allows the users to send and receive information securely over the network. As a part of the blockchain, the private key cryptography is used to ensure the security of transactions and the ownership of digital assets. So anyhow, the private key cryptography is also known as symmetric cryptography, is an encryption method in which a single key is used to encrypt and decrypt the data. Of course, encryption and decryption, encryption is a process of we need to make it encrypt the data and send the data from user one user to alternate user or from A to B. And at the time of receiving the data by the receiver end, they are going to make it decrypt the data one more. That is, they need to access the original data. So if you want to retrieve the original data, that previously what we have encrypted data, that is to be decrypted once, and then it's possible to access the data by the receiver end. So the private key cryptography, as I said before, it is also said to be a term called symmetric cryptography in the encryption method, in which a single key is used to encrypt and decrypt. Only single key only used for encryption as well as decryption process of the data. The key is kept secret between the sender and receiver at any cost. Apart from sender and receiver, no one other of the key, that is a third party, is not possible to access the data with the help of the key. Anyhow, the key will be known to only the sender and receiver and used to encrypt and decrypt the messages. So this is the term called cryptographic hash function. You just look at the picture, the representation, how the private key encryption, that is a symmetric key, will be in process. So we have a sender as well as a recipient, that is nothing but the receiver. So the sender can send the data, and that original data is said to be the plain text. At the time of sending the data, we that original data will have a shared secret key. That is, at the time of encrypting the data, we have a shared secret key, and then the plain text will be converted into ciphertext. That is nothing but, here we are going to say that ciphered data. And after make a encryption process, the plain text will be converted into ciphertext. That ciphered data need to decrypt the data now. So what's the reason for decrypt the data? In the sense, in the receiver end, they need to retrieve the data, retrieve the original data, retrieve the original plain text data. So regarding that, we need to perform the decryption process, and the decrypted plain text data will be act as a original data, and then from the receiver end, they are going to receive the original data. So this is what the process, how it is to be the cryptographic hash function. As hashing is nothing but a type of security process, and in the cryptography hash function, we are using the key values, that is nothing but private as well as public key, symmetric or it is to be asymmetric. So only for the security based information. So up to now, we discuss what is my blockchain, and then how the transaction will be in the blockchain, and what are the different models in the blockchain, and what are all the features and what are the benefits of blockchain, and followed by how the blockchain will be acting as a public ledger one, and then what is my hashing, and what is said to be a permissionized blockchain, as well as how the cryptographic hash function will be evaluated in the blockchain process. Thank you. Thank you all.